welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for surfing soldiers. I'm Cody.
And I'm Tyler.
Tyler? Whoa. What did I make you watch?
You made me watch Apocalypse Now, which I've always wanted to watch.
Oh, but you didn't think it would be this hard, did you?
Nope.
Oh, but it were.
I didn't think it was going to feel like the longest movie we've ever watched.
Tyler, we need to watch some longer movies. I tell you what, I mean, don't get me wrong. Was this long? Yes. Did I hit the sleepy point and fall asleep for about 3.5 seconds? Also, yes. I need you to fill in one gap for me. Probably a very important gap. Okay, sure. Was it long? Maybe. But it was worth it, right?
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, give me the rundown. Because honestly, there's not enough time. There is far too much to discuss. I took a full 1.5 pages of notes. Then I filled out the rest of the page with bananas facts I have to share about this. So we need to get through the Look, we got to get through this because there's things that I need to tell you.
Oh.
So tell me, what's this movie about?
Well, you got your boy. Hold on.
Okay, I'll wait.
Hold on. What's his name?
Carlos.
That's his son's name. What's his name? You got your boy Ramon Antonio Gerardo Estevez. He's a veteran, but he's not out. So I guess he's not a veteran. He's still in the army. He went home. When he was there, he could think about going home. When he was at home, he could think about going back there. That's the origin of this line. That line is this film, this experience. He's there. He's doing some weird yoga moves like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You know, did he hire a body double to do it in the window so he could get the drop on people? Probably. We didn't see that. Punches a mirror, 7 years of bad luck. And what we witness is the 7 years of bad luck he goes through.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
You are correct that it felt like 7 years. I think it was 4 days.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Okay.
But that's the film. If this is the consequences for punching a mirror.
No.
Think about it. Punches the mirror, and that's when everything kicks off.
Should it make mention that he was given a mission, or
that was the consequence?
You covered the first 4 minutes of this movie.
It's the consequence. Look, you're going to tell me that Francis Ford Coppola did not intend for it to be broke the mirror mission, go into the wilderness.
Francis Ford Coppola didn't have a nephew named Nicolas Cage to not have won an Oscar for this movie.
Can you imagine Nick Cage as the lead in this movie? Because I can. And it's all I imagined for most of the film.
Okay, you want Nick Cage as the lead? I'm sorry. I want Nick Cage as Colonel Kurtz. Okay.
No.
I want him there to just I want the third act to just
really go
climax with Nicolas Cage hanging from the ceiling. Okay.
Here's what
That's what I want.
Nick Cage is Martin Sheen.
Mm-hmm.
He plays Martin Sheen. Going back to Nam.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colonel. I need you to pick option 1, option 2. All right. You don't know.
Option 2, please.
Option 2, Vin Diesel's the Colonel.
No.
We put a wig on him.
How old is he? Vin Diesel, what? Fast and Furious 1 Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious 9 Vin Diesel. What's the scale here?
If I have a time machine I can pick?
That's what I'm saying. You can pick any year of it.
Alternate scene how old he is.
Okay.
And then every 8th scene, it's a different buff bald actor. We get Jason Statham. We get The Rock.
Is this an imaginary of Dr. Parnassus scenario where other bald actors come in to fill in the blank spots of Vin Diesel's character?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now we're talking.
Like when he's trying to be a sweet boy, that's when The Rock comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what
when he's trying to be gruff and mysterious. Is that the Statham?
No, I think Statham just comes to do like a backflip off of wall or
I
something.
want Paul Scheer to come in for like just a silly scene.
And then, what do we do then? Nick Cage is out. Elijah Wood is in. He's the lead now. He this whole time he was just the crazy guy on acid.
Okay.
But now we flipped it. He's Martin Sheen and Nick Cage is on acid.
Here's what you're proposing to me. You're proposing what Marlon Brando wanted to do with this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's what you're doing. Okay. So you saw it. We've all seen it.
Seen it.
How'd it go? You said you wanted to see this movie. This is a classic movie. 8 Oscar nods. 40 years later, how does it hold up?
It's a good question. And I thank you for asking that question. Isn't it great? We live in a country where you can ask such questions.
Stonewall me.
I don't know. I mean, I think the movie is just as good now as it was then. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it has aged poorly. I think if you're going to like it, if you're going to dig it, it's,
No. Did you like it? That's the question.
I feel like I've given a good answer. It's like this.
Stop. Put that pencil down.
Look,
no
Cody,
reason to have that pencil right now.
I need something, man. I don't know what's happening. I feel like I've taken drugs.
So the movie broke you.
The movie broke my brain.
I suspected as much. Did it?
I liked Platoon, which just seems like the similar movie, much more focused in
That's
that
true.
They're both in Vietnam. Very little
Platoon.
Other similarities.
We watched this movie because I saw Platoon. I saw Platoon a few weeks ago, a month or two ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is it that Charlie Sheen and Martin Sheen were both in famous Vietnam movies 10 years apart?
Yeah.
Father and son, 10 years past. They're both in, anyway, so I had to see it.
Ramon and Carlos Estevez.
Platoon is dark.
Yeah.
I think this is darker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's almost like it's based on a book called Heart of Darkness.
Yeah. It's also, I feel like this is much more accurate to the experience of being in the Vietnam War.
Well, you say that, but Platoon was based on the director's experiences in Vietnam. Like, he wrote that based on his experiences.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say it. I really liked this movie. And maybe I just liked it for the sake of the eerie vibes. Like, it's one of those movies, kind of a descent into madness or descent into hell.
Into the Heart of Darkness?
Yeah, Heart of Darkness. Kind of like Mandy or Aliens is kind of the same way too. Like, that's kind of how James Cameron describes it. He's like, oh, the director's cut of Aliens, it's just like 30 minutes more and a more gradual descent into like the chaos of the alien nest,
Yeah. So I drew a lot. I kept thinking of Mandy a lot throughout the movie.
I mean, when you think about the sheer amount of bloody and dirty and painted faces, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
There's even a tiger.
Yeah, there is. And there's acid.
Yeah.
There's people on acid.
It's almost like they're like, hey, we've got the nephew of the man who made Apocalypse Now.
Nick Cage is like, man, if I was only like 15 years older, I could have been Martin Sheen in this movie. I got to pay it forward. Here's the thing. Nick Cage started acting, what, late 80s? Yeah. So I guess this is only like 8 years out of his range. He could have played this guy.
Yeah.
He should have played this guy. Francis Ford Coppola is a coward for not casting his nephew.
His child nephew at the time.
Okay, you say that. Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because he's a little boy.
He was 14 at the time. He lied about his age so that he could.
Just like the soldier did.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was 17. He was really 14.
I didn't even connect that was Lawrence Fishburne. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I've never seen Lawrence Fishburne so skinny, so supple.
That always feels like that comes up with like, you didn't know this actor was in this movie.
Well, the star-studded cast in this movie. But it's also a lot of people who it's like, oh yeah, they're still early career. Like, this is Harrison Ford before Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars came out before this, but this was shot before that, I think, because this movie this movie comes out in 1979.
Right.
It took 3 years to edit and over a year to shoot. So This movie was in
Nice.
production in 75 and Star Wars was 77. Anyway. So yeah, this is before Harrison Ford's break, but it came out after Star Wars. Isn't that weird?
It's very weird.
Okay. So I have more fun facts, but we gotta do it. We gotta get in. I need you to take
Let's
me.
hop in the banana boat and smuggle weapons to the Viet Cong in Spoiler Town.
Yes.
Because
Spoiler Town is in turmoil. All
Where-
right.
yeah,
It's going down. Spoiler Town.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, first off, can we just talk about the taut, nubile bod of Martin Sheen? Forever in my mind, Martin Sheen is the president of the United States as portrayed in the series West Wing. Now, this is 20 years before that, and he's a skinny young boy.
Yeah.
It really threw me. It still throws me thinking about it. Seeing that taut, supple frame is weird. It's a trip.
He looks like he has about 2 feet of extra skin on him, I would say, though.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know about the taut part.
I mean, I guess I just pictured him less taut. So to see him as taut as he was,
Yeah.
just threw me.
Like a fit young man with
Mhm.
a glorious chest bush.
Yeah, I mean, A+ chest bush. Something we don't get enough of, you know? Look, Henry Cavill? Oh yeah, he's got the chest bush. Who else is repping the chest bush? You got to go back into the archives for that. I'm not comfortable with the way you're fondling my pencil. I don't.
I've
This
taken
movie broke you.
This is my for the next
Tyler, you're playing mind games with me. you about to-
psychological
Are you
warfare
about
right now.
to
I'm psyopsing.
improvise a monologue and then edit it down severely? Okay.
I'm psyopsing you right now.
Okay. So Martin Sheen, you already talked about this. Martin Sheen, he's doing some yoga, punching, dancing. He's shirtless. He's in his room. He's waiting for something to happen, right? That's me after like a Dragon Ball Z marathon. That is 8-year-old me, Dragon Ball Z marathon. I'm punching pillows. I'm rolling off the couch. I'm doing somersaults. Okay.
Yeah.
I was there with him. Here's what I learned about that scene. He punches a mirror. His hand is bleeding. He's not doing well. All right. Here's the thing. That scene was not scripted. They put him in a room and he was like, I'm going to get drunk and I'm going to do this scene. He really punched that mirror. Did not, like, it's not in the script for him to break that mirror. That was a real mirror. He punched it. He broke it. You know, Aragorn style. Okay. He tried to attack Francis Ford Coppola at one point. He was battling a drinking addiction at the time. And he was like, maybe this helped me face my demons. One punched mirror and attacked director later. We have a great scene to start a movie with.
Yeah.
So there's a documentary about this, the making of this movie called Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
And we have to watch it now.
Yeah.
I think
so.
I'm going to watch it tonight.
Tonight.
I might have to. Because reading about how insane this shoot was, I just have to, okay, I have to know more.
I have heard it was like, they're like, isn't there a quote from, is it Francis Ford Coppola or somebody who's like, it felt like we were in the Vietnam War or something like that. Like, it was nuts.
Yeah. Well, there's some crazy stuff that like, so George Lucas was originally supposed to direct this movie. You laugh. George Lucas is homies with Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Francis Ford Coppola and himself. In fact, Francis Ford Coppola's
okay, sorry.
Francis Ford Coppola's film studio, Zoetrope, was like a thing. He and George Lucas were going to make their own film studio, blah blah blah, do all this stuff. They wanted to make the movie. Coppola ended up getting tied to Godfather, and then Lucas did his own thing. So by the time they were both famous enough, a few years passed, they're both famous directors now. Lucas is working on Star Wars. He can't do this movie.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge bummer for him. But like at the time, this is early 70s, Lucas is like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot this movie guerrilla style. We're going to tell people we're filming a war documentary about the Vietnam War, which is currently going on. We're going to go and film it while the war is happening in Vietnam, guerrilla style. And they were like, you're crazy. we can't do that. Anyway, by the time the movie gets made, they're like, darn it, the war's over.
Missed the boat.
So they had to go film it. I think they shot a lot of it in the Philippines, I think, as they do with a lot of these.
It'd be the safer option.
I think Coppola even asked someone, he's like, hey, do you have any advice for like going to film this series? Like, don't go. It's gonna be awful. He like Coppola was like, Al Pacino, do you want to be in this movie? It'll be great. You and Marlon Brando were the Godfather. We're for we shot. He was like, I don't think I should do that. You're gonna be shouting at me in a helicopter. I'm gonna have to spend 5 months in the jungle, in the water. It's not for me. Anyway, this movie was supposed to be a 6-week shoot. Bang, bang, boom. 15 months later, they finish shooting. 3 years later, the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nightmare for everybody. Martin Sheen had a heart attack during the movie. They had to ship him out to get better. They shipped his brother in to be a stand-in. So like a lot of times when he's shot from behind, that's his brother. Also,
I'm going to need to look up his brother.
I'll keep going. I'll give you a hint. His last name is Estevez.
Joe?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh, there is no picture of Joe.
He's not credited for it, but fun fact, most of the voiceovers is actually his brother. So at the end of as he's editing the movie, 3 years later, he's like, you know what, we need some additional voiceovers. Martin Sheen's tied up another project. So he's like, Joe, you sound like Martin Sheen. How would you like to record voiceovers for Apocalypse Now?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Joe Estevez does not look like Martin Sheen. I'm going to throw that out there.
Yeah. Here's my question. From behind, could he pass as Martin Sheen?
Okay. No. Here's the thing. This is what Joe Estevez looks like.
Okay.
You take Martin Sheen and you cross him with Jeff Foxworthy.
I'm sorry. That's just Jeff Foxworthy. No. That's Martin Sheen in a Jeff Foxworthy wig. Can you Photoshop out that goatee so I can just You're right. He has the right face structure, but the wrong hair. He's got the same eyes.
Without the goatee, similar. He looks more like Charlie Sheen.
Oh my goodness. Is Martin Sheen's brother actually his son?
Maybe. But here's a young picture of him. There you go.
Oh yeah.
He's got it all together. He is a solid C actor,
okay.
Apparently, based on his filmography. So continue.
Well, he's in Apocalypse Now.
I know.
So, okay. But here's the thing. I got off of the Martin Sheen punch yoga mirror punch scene too fast. Because can we talk about the 70s and realistic tan lines?
Yeah.
This is something you don't have in movies anymore, Back in the day, you see someone in their skivvies, they got that. They too tan and they're too white, in certain areas.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen has it. This movie came out the same year as Kramer versus Kramer. Kramer versus Kramer also has some aggressive tan line photography. Whatever happened? Why are we ashamed of our tan lines? Are people less tan now? Are we better? Has tanning technology improved? I just want realistic body image.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong with Hollywood today.
Tanning beds were invented.
Makes me mad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Martin Sheen is from Dayton, Ohio. His character's from Toledo, Ohio.
All right.
From what I know of Ohio, there's only one other place in Ohio.
Is it Cleveland?
Yes.
Or is it Columbus?
Columbus is what I was thinking. What's the city? What's the city in Ready Player One? That's the one I was thinking. That's Columbus, right?
Columbus is the capital.
Columbus is where they have the skyscrapers of trailers in Ready Player One.
But Cleveland is where LeBron James is from.
So it was definitely Columbus. So now there's 4 places in Ohio. What's up with Ohio having so many places?
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, they're all the same place.
Yeah.
I just think they've made maps with other cities labeled on them. And
Yeah.
people, it's a ruse.
It's like how Australia is not real.
Mm-hmm.
You know about that?
No, but tell me.
Australia is
I'm ready.
fake. It's a fake place.
It's like birds.
Yeah.
Birds aren't real.
They're drones from the government.
Government has been replacing birds for years with surveillance drones.
Yeah. But yeah, so Australia's fake.
Where do you think they need somewhere to make the birds? It's
Exactly.
Australia.
But it's not there.
Exactly. You can't make the birds if the place they're made in doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's all a conspiracy.
It's just a compound in the middle of the UK.
If you want to know the truth, tweet me at Opinion Hours.
Yeah.
You've got a meeting with Kool-Aid.
Yeah. What? Drink the Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie don't surf. Okay, here's the thing about this movie. Does it end in a horror-scape cult scenario?
Yeah.
Maybe. But does it start with a rad surfing general, you know?
He's a colonel.
A rad
Or
surfing
major?
colonel?
He's a cavalryman.
He's a colonel. He sure does. It is a man with a platoon of helicopters with several surfers, and he just goes about doing whatever he wants. And if you mention to him that there's a place where you can surf that's infested with the enemy, oh, he'll take it for you.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
6-foot peaks.
Oh, yeah.
I got no peaks that size there.
They don't... Look, Charlie doesn't deserve it because they don't even surf.
Yeah.
All right? He's got 2 surfers in his crew.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Charlie an offensive term
Uh-oh.
for the Vietnamese?
You know?
You know what? You keep going. You keep going down that rabbit hole, and I'll.
Well, I know the offensive word because I've watched Clint Eastwood movies. I mean, they say it in this movie too, but
Yeah.
So I don't think so. Look it up. Tell me if that's offensive. If you might have to bleep me out so many times.
Is this why Charlie Sheen is named Charlie?
Oh, it's a stage name. That makes so much sense. He's just trying to cash in on the Vietnam thing, and it worked because he's in platoon and 2.5 men.
I typed in "is Charlie."
Okay,
Is Charlie Sheen in Apocalypse Now?
that's a great question. Is he?
It just took me to the Apocalypse Now Google page, so
Okay.
we'll never know.
And
Time wrote an article.
Okay.
It doesn't answer the question.
well, isn't it just like Germans in World War II or the Jerrys?
You keep going.
All
I'll
right.
tell you if you're racist or not.
Just tell me if I'm racist. Yeah. I believe that this movie was very long to shoot and very expensive and went over budget because of how many people jumped out of helicopters into water and how many people I saw on fire. I saw multiple people on fire and a lot of real explosions and fire flamethrowers. There's a lot. I was impressed.
When they rolled out of the exploded helicopter, I was like, "Oh, they're on fire."
Yeah.
That's
what I'm
so
talking
much of the
about.
jelly.
That is commitment.
It's a lot of goop on you
Mm-hmm.
because they goop you up.
Yeah. And then
Because they don't, unless they actually just lit a bunch of like people on fire.
given their treatment of certain other woodland creatures, I would not be surprised if he actually just didn't just light some people on fire. So, okay. I think they said Robert Duvall, who plays Colonel Surfboard,
Yeah.
won an Oscar. He's only on screen, or got an Oscar nomination. I think he was on screen for 11 minutes. And his character is amazing. He speaks like he says the most famous line from the movie, which is, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning. ... smells like victory."
Yeah.
But I just loved, look, the fact that he was destroying a village and risking everything to catch some cool waves. Sure. The fact that he had absolutely zero fear the entire time, amazing. He's just standing up, walking through the field of explosions. He's unfazed by anything. I need to be more like him in my life and also less like him in my life. You understand? Tyler, if you haven't answered the question by now, there is no answer.
No, so I mean, in the racial slur database.org,
Yeah.
it's in the database as a racial slur.
Okay. Well,
so you and all the American soldiers in Vietnam racist.
Darn. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I learned
We're
so many
canceled now.
bad words from this movie. Some of the bad words. Just here's what we're gonna do. Let me just get a few clean sheens in here. Sheen. I just need you to input Sheen every time I say Charlie Sheen, right? So you just gotta say Charlie Sheen don't surf. All right, that's what you don't understand.
Yeah,
nailed it. Found the loophole.
You did it. You're a hero.
Oh, yeah. So there's a Playboy Bunny USO show,
Yeah.
which I found, for as deep as the movie gets into the horror, I'm not saying it wasn't a necessary scene, but I lost it at the cap gun. when one of them started like
bang, bang,
pow, pow. I was like, this is too much. I mean, I appreciate that it dissolved into chaos and it means something, but I couldn't get past the cap guns, I guess, is where I'm at.
Well, I mean, I feel like we've been to Nam and back now, and that's part of it.
The whole experience.
Going there, it's seeing your buddy die, but 2 or 3 Playboy bunnies might show up at some point
for a 90-second exhibition of cap guns.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're fine.
That's true.
That's how the army works.
That's how they get you. I did think it was interesting later on, the guy, what's his name? Is he the surfer guy? On the boat?
The professional surfer on the boat?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
I think so, because he talks about how he dropped acid. But someone wrote him a letter about Disneyland. And he's like, this is better than Disneyland. And then like going down the river in Vietnam. And
he's like, this is it.
This is it. Yeah. Disneyland has nothing on this experience. It's like, oh, they're all losing it. They're all gone.
Yeah. Speaking of him, right? This is what I learned. In every Vietnam movie, right? There's the one guy who's like, I'm high out of my mind the entire war. And they're always, opposite the stoic soldier. And I always thought, Cody, you're going to snap like a twig when we go to Nam. You're going to be the high guy. I'll have to be the soldier. What we've learned is I'm dropping acid before the plane lands, right? So you got to be the responsible one that kills the crazy warlord.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'll take that responsibility upon myself, I guess. Yeah. If I must.
You got to do it. It's the only way.
What did they say? Okay, so this is well into the movie. This is where the part like, okay, we've gone through the madness of the surfing colonel bit.
I forgot that even happened.
Oh, it feels like a whole other movie. By the time you get to the end of this movie, that feels like a whole like. There's a hard. Okay, I feel like the hard separation in this is. I mean, it's a pretty steady progression, but for me is when they roll up in the boat at night. And Charlie Sheen gets like a few, dossier with a little more information.
Sheen. It's Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen? Marty Sheen. He gets the dossier with a little more information. It's night. the captain of the boat is kind of like, all right, so can we leave you? We've got to dip. This is madness out here. It's like dark. It's kind of crazy. I feel like that's the real hard part. We're like, okay, we're not turning back. It's going down.
Yeah. They're at that bridge that is a famous bridge. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's like they would build it every day and then it would get destroyed every night. Just so it would look good on paper.
Yeah.
There's no point to it. And it, because it's all, I think I've seen a lot of movies use it as like this embodies the Vietnam War.
It's like the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower of France is the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
What?
So for me, that was the separating point. We're like, okay, we're descending. This, we're not turning back. It's getting real dark real fast.
Yeah. It's like in Willy Wonka where they go through the tunnel.
Like, oh no, we're in Gene Wilder's hands now.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. So anyway, yeah, because that beginning of the movie is so different, right? I don't know. I like that in the beginning you see Martin Sheen is out of it, right? He's mad himself. He's lost it. He feels like you mentioned, he's like, when I'm at home, I want her to be back in Vietnam. When I'm in Vietnam, I don't, like he's in it. He's gone a little crazy. And and even when they go to pick him up, he's like, all right, what did I do? What am I being arrested for? Like, we just had a mission for you. You didn't get cleaned up. They take him to the thing. They brief him.
Yeah.
They're like, you're in the CA, right? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't talk about that. And then, so they give him the mission. They're like, look, this guy's going crazy. We need you to take him out. He's gone to Cambodia. He's doing his own thing. He's commanding his own troops. Like, you got to take care of him.
Yeah.
But the whole time you're just like, oh, well, is this not the same state that Martin Sheen is in? Like, isn't his character also like susceptible to that same thing? And even like as he gets closer, he's like, I didn't want to kill him. I want to confront him. Like, I gotta talk to this guy. Like, oh no. And even, you see Colonel Surfboard and you're like, this guy's doing the same thing. He's doing whatever he wants. He's following his own orders. He's just enjoying being in command and getting to wreak havoc wherever he wants to. And so I like that they draw that parallel the whole time. It is interesting to me that Martin Sheen, like his voiceover kind of points it out, because I thought it was fairly obvious. I think if this movie was made today, that voiceover wouldn't be in there, and it would just be like, oh yeah, you can kind of draw the parallel of Kurtz and the other generals, or the other commanders, and seeing those parallels.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they're kind of. One of the things I always find interesting. You see movies where they have all the movies based in different wars, right? Because in World War II, like all those movies, you had the same thing. Like if you were a major with your unit out in the middle of nowhere, you weren't getting orders. They were like, go in that direction and don't die until someone that has more stuff on their chest shows up.
Right.
And you're like, cool. And then by the time the guy with the colonel shows up, it's like, who's in charge? Well, Corporal Jensen's the only one that's not a private, so he's in charge.
Yeah.
And there's 6 of us left, But it's like, in Vietnam, it was just so much crazier.
Yeah.
Than it was in the other wars, right? It's just insane. The crazy people.
Well, it's like guerrilla warfare, right? Like, I don't know if the U.S. had ever quite gone up against it because that's sort of thing we used in Revolutionary War. But every war since then had been like fairly organized and like conventional. Then we show up at Vietnam and it's like, yeah, no, we're in the jungle and you're in our jungle now. So good luck.
Getting in tiny little holes in the ground. It's like the Agent Orange. Like your wife was like, is that Agent Orange? Talking about napalm. It's like, no, there's the stuff they would drop to make the trees drop their leaves so guys couldn't hide in the trees anymore.
Yeah.
But the jungle was so thick that they'd be like, well, we dropped 10,000 tons of it and we've done roughly like the size of like a city block.
Yeah.
With no leaves. So we're not doing a lot here.
Yeah.
All we've done is permanently damage most of the soldiers in multiple ways.
Vietnam is crazy and just so long too. It's like it got passed from like president to president. It was just like, what are we gonna do? We can't turn back now. Can we turn back? Like, should we just leave? Like, we can't leave. We have to win. And at the end, it was just like, all right, I guess we're done.
It's really like, I always thought of the Vietnam conflict, because remember, it wasn't a real war, Cody. It's conflict, but now it's the war, right? It's kind of like when you have an old beater car that you're like, if I just spent $2,000, this car would be fine. But then you go to the shop and they're like, oh, this thing is gonna, be $2,000 to fix it. And you're like, what can you do for $150? Well, I can make it run for another 6 months. You're like, do that.
Bingo. Yeah. So, yeah, it goes down. Martin Sheen, I thought another interesting turning point. Martin Sheen's whole thing is, hey, boat captain guy, you're just a small Navy crew. I just need you to get me north up this river or whatever. Get me to Cambodia, get me to the border. That's all I need to know. Just, we're going up the river.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the captain's frustrated. He's like, well, this is my boat. Like, you're not my boss. And so there are points where he pushes back on him, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, there's a point where there's just like a little shipping boat, a little shipping junk. I think
a little banana boat, right? No, banana boat.
And so they're like, okay, we got to inspect it. He's like, why are you going to inspect it? Like, you're only here to take me to where I need to go. So just let him go. Like, let's go upriver. And then captain puts his foot down. It's like, nope, we're stopped. We're going to inspect the boat. And that goes down real hard.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's making Chef go to the boat. He's like, inspect. He's like, okay, it's mangoes. All right, this is right. So there's nothing here. Like, look in that. And the lady in the boat gets spooked. And she's like, no, don't, she like goes to reach for him. And just, is it Lawrence Fishburne's character?
Yeah.
Just like unloads the whole gun. His whole, he's got a machine gun. He unloads it all on the boat.
Yeah. And
that gets dark. And it's interesting because they're like, oh, the lady's not dead. We need to take her to a medic. And Martin Sheen just shoots her. He's like, nope. I thought that was interesting because he's like, I told you we shouldn't stop. Let's go.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Like, it's interesting because so much of his character he's just, he's done stuff. And he's the person they asked to go assassinate the crazy guy. But you don't really see him do anything. He's just like, hey, I need to get along. Can you take me up here? Here are my orders. And that was the first time where he like actively did something, where he's like, nope, this is my mission. You're like, okay, he's not just a bystander. Like, he's part of this, know?
Yeah. And it also, like, I think really shows, because he mentions it when the guy's like, we got to stop. We got to inspect the boat. That's our job. That's what we do. We're a patrol boat. He's like, patrol boats don't come up here. You're like you were saying, you're only up here because I'm here. So you're here with me because I'm in the boat.
Right.
And he's like, no. And then, when that happens, it's like, you're out of your element. You're out of where you got like the big boats to support you and where you're inspecting boats and people have their papers ready. And you're in where I'm used to, where we're like going to assassinate people and things,
Yeah. It's interesting to see, like, the further you get along the river, just the crazier things get. There's like less and less order and less control.
Yeah. And even just the switch of like them unloading and like throwing all like the slurs and being all like just taking out, because they kind of just devolves into them almost just taking out all their stress and aggression on this boat.
Yeah.
And the people in it too. She's still alive. We need to get her to friendlies to help her.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, because in the beginning you're like, oh, these are just the Navy boys, and compared to Colonel Surfboard and his whole crew, who are maniacs, it's like, oh, these Navy guys, these are like pacifists, they're just driving their boat, being good boys. And then 30 minutes, 40 minutes later in the movie, a few scenes later, it's like, oh no, they're doing the same thing. Like, it's like everyone's driven to that same point.
Yeah.
If you put these people in the same situation, they're all going to hit that.
Yeah.
That heart of darkness.
Yeah. I really think those air cavalry guys were having the best time. If your commander's like, look, you can surf or you can fight. Those are your options.
Just him, like, I'll surf, ripping his shirt off. There's explosions happening. He's living his best life.
He's got the bugle and the old timey uniform and everything. Like, he's like, we are cavalrymen, and they have given us helicopters.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. What did someone say? Martin Sheen's like, oh, wherever you go, it's going to be hot. That's what he said. I was like, you know it's going to be hot when Martin Sheen's involved. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know it.
I know it.
We all know. Here's what I didn't know. Martin Sheen was not the first pick for the role. There were other people up for it. Like Harvey Keitel wanted to play it really bad. Al Pacino was approached for it. And actually, they started the movie, and it was... Clint Eastwood was approached for it as well.
Nice.
But darn, maybe it wasn't Harvey Keitel.
It was Marlon Brando playing
someone
both.
Else actually started the movie. Tell me something interesting while I look this up.
Oh, so interesting. Oh. I thought it was really interesting. Like, we were talking about the scene where they got the puppy. That's why the girl was diving for the guy, right?
Yeah. And
then short time later, they're going along and they've just been shot at, right? Like they were shot at. And then right after that, they had the arrows being shot at them, like tons of arrows. And they're freaking out and firing into the trees and everything. And Martin Sheen's character is like, no, stop. They're just trying to scare us. It's basically sticks. They're not even real arrows.
Yeah.
Like chill out and just go, like just gun it and get out of here. They're just trying to make us move faster through this area.
Yeah.
And the captain of the little boat, I can't remember what he kept calling him, but like the guy, he's like, no, we got to defend this boat. And then he gets got by a spear.
Yeah.
And then he tries to kill.
Oh my goodness. Sheen. That was that was really interesting too. Because they've been disagreeing for a while.
Yeah.
He's dying with the spear, and then Martin Sheen's standing over him. He grabs Martin Sheen, tries to pull him into the spear too, which was just, it was crazy to see just the people turning on themselves.
Yeah.
Just the madness.
Just like him obviously blaming him for getting all of his crew killed.
Yeah.
When it's like people have only died when they haven't listened to the Sheenster.
Oh yeah.
If I'm in the jungles of Vietnam or Cambodia, I'm gonna hallucinate Martin Sheen just so I know what to do.
If there's a Sheen there, there's an Estevez there, then they got you covered.
I want modern day Martin Sheen though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I also is a hallucination, right? We've said So I want him to have a tiny pocket-sized Charlie Sheen with him.
and then Charlie Sheen, he's got a little vest, and in the vest is a little puppy.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite part of the movie. Actually, was when the surfer dude, who's like tripping balls, like that whole back half of the movie. They're like going through a really cool lit scene where there's just flares going and it's dark, and you just see as the flares go, you can see bits and pieces. And I'm like, what's in his? Oh, there's a puppy in his. There's a puppy in his vest. All right, took the puppy with him. That's fun.
Yeah, they're in like what is historically one of the most hotly contested areas of the entire war, and he's just puppy.
He's got his puppy.
Yeah, he does. He keeps like climbing on top of stuff and taking off his helmet and the what is it? Wasn't it Captain? Whatever. Martin Sheen, just like, hey, get down here. Keeps having to call him down.
So Harvey Keitel was originally cast as Willard. That's Martin Sheen's part. But after 2 weeks, Francis Ford Coppola replaced the machine. Nick Nolte really wanted the part as well. And when Harvey Keitel got fired, he was like, this is my shot. But Martin Sheen was given the role.
Yeah.
So kind of crazy. I mean, can you imagine if this movie with Clint Eastwood or Al Pacino or Harvey Keitel or any of those other actors considered for it would have been interesting. I like the choice of Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen, even though you start the movie with him being like crazy, the Sheens, they've got a pure face, they got that nice face that I think contrasts well with the madness of war. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen Hot Shots. I know.
Oh, sorry. I'm doing an eye roll. Okay, there we go. Got my third one in. Okay. Yeah. That scene in particular, when they're at that bridge.
Yeah.
Just the music was incredible. Like it was just eerie. It was spooky. I loved it. I thought the music, especially in the back half of the movie, was really took it a long way in like building a really scary, uncomfortable vibe. I think by the end of the movie, I could like just hear my heart pounding. Or just like this is a lot going on.
Yeah, I felt the first part. I felt that was when they were coming on that, like the outpost, you know, when they were setting it up for the USO show, and it was like the eerie, like theremin music, and I was like, what is happening?
For a second, I thought like, are they pulling up to Marlon Brando? You know, to
I was like,
Colonel Kurtz's thing.
I was like, is this where they're going? Is this like a cult compound?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Like, what is happening here? But yeah, it's just a U.S. Army base,
which makes sense when you saw the lights. But it wasn't clear that it was an army base. You know, it was just like, and even the people on the docks that were like, oh, you can put your boat here, were like weird.
Yeah,
you know, they're like zombies almost. Oh my goodness! And then they get some mail. In the mail, there's like a tape recorder, and so one of the guys in the Navy boat has like, it's like his mom or his grandma sent him a tape. What did she say? She says like, and we're gonna spoil those grandkids. We won't tell the parents about it. Ha ha ha! What? Yeah. Why didn't she laugh?
Because she's reading. She wrote a letter. No.
Okay, so she
wrote a letter,
reading out a letter.
Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't deal with it. I was like, no.
Yeah.
That is not how you laugh. This is why we invented the phrase LOL. Okay. Because it's not the same when you read out loud. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, but that, you know, because I've watched a lot. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I've probably watched a lot more war movies in general than you, because I enjoy those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's something that pops up a lot in those movies. Is like, mom sent you a tape, and she wrote a letter, and she's reading it, so it's always like that.
Mom, you don't got to keep it so formal.
So
you know, I want you. You can improvise a little bit.
We hope you are doing good.
Full stop.
It's like you can just talk into the tape recorder.
Yeah. You just tell me what's going on. Yeah. I mean, and then that scene where it's the fake arrows that they're shooting. I didn't realize what was going on, but they get the surfer dude, acid guy.
Yeah.
He's like grabs one, he's fiddling with it, and like the next shot, he made the little like comedy arrow hat, you know, where like it looks like the arrows go. I was like, oh, like this guy is having too good a time. Like earlier when he was like, this is like Disneyland, I was like, you're dumb. And you know what? I believe he was having that much fun because he's got a puppy. He's making arrow hats. He fully joins the cult. At the end, he's just like, this is rad. I'm here for it. Like, anyway, so good for him. He's living his best life.
Well, it is funny too, because like he's the one who gives himself over to it. He's like, I'm just gonna give in to the craziness of it all, let it wash over me, let it go through me. I'm not gonna fight against it. Everyone who's like, I'm gonna fight against it, they die.
Yeah.
But the two people who are like, I can accept this, I'm like, oh, one with the universe.
You got to go with the flow of the river.
Yeah.
That river takes you to like a fun military/Zen cult in Cambodia. And that's just what you have to do. You got to go with it.
With a crazy photojournalist.
Oh my goodness, that photojournalist. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, he existed before he was a stereotype, like the way he talked.
Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting to see a movie where like, oh, I think that's where people get that from. You know, that was probably a milestone performance for like the hippie photographer dude.
Well, it's also like, I was like, because I kind of rolled my eyes when he came on. I was like, oh, and then I was like, you know, the reason this is in these movies is because that was like a thing at the time. Like there were a lot of people like that in the 70s.
Just like fun, crunchy, hippie guys.
You know? I just wanted Andre to be there.
Andre Drummond. of the Lakers.
No,
Andre
this is one of the
Iguodala
stops.
the
This is one of the stops on his. He's gonna go back and he's gonna tell Wallace. It's my dinner with Andre. That one.
yeah.
I wanted him. This is the kind of place he would be.
Oh my goodness.
Like, then I joined a militaristic cult in Cambodia.
This really, I bet this is in that movie. It's just, you know how that movie's like, what, 6 hours of the 6 hour tape that the screenplay's based off?
Yeah.
I'm sure this is in there.
Oh, yeah.
Just him retelling the Heart of Darkness as if he was in it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah. I mean, this is where we're getting into the really interesting visuals, right? We get past that bridge. We get past the point with the fake arrows where the captain's dead. It's just the three white guys now. All right. I know. This is a horror movie, and we've killed off all the people of color. And it's just the white folks at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And they make it to Colonel Kurtz's cult. And it is interesting, right? Because they're welcomed by the photographer dude. He's like, don't worry, it's cool, man. I'm an American. Let's, we'll hit off. I have 7 cameras strapped around me at all times. It's totally cool.
So many cameras. Yes.
The visuals are fascinating. As they go, there's like more and more just like colored smoke everywhere. Are those all just like smoke signals?
Yeah.
But it's just a style choice at this point, just an aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, incredible visuals. I understand why it took so long to shoot. Because you go from kind of just like the basic daytime jungle shooting to like, oh, now we're night shooting. Now we've got like colored smoke everywhere. And there's like 400 villagers that are part of this cult. And the costumes and everyone has to be dirty and sweaty. And, it just is a feat.
Not to mention, I bet you that shot where he's like pops the purple smoke grenades.
Yeah.
And have you ever breathed in the smoke from a smoke grenade?
I mean, it would be like if I lit, like a fountain firework thing and just like sat there and breathed it in, right?
It's like that, but it's like so thick and it burns your throat to breathe it in. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that alone took them at least a couple days to like piece together.
I want to know who had the audacity to think this movie could be shot in 6 weeks. That's what I want to know.
They shot The Hobbit in 8 weeks.
Was The Hobbit shot on a boat in a river in the Philippines?
No, it was in New Zealand. It was they duct taped a GoPro to a barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, incredible views, beautifully shot. Even like when Martin Sheen walks into the cult, they all kind of like close in on him, grab him, turn him upside down, rub him in the mud, and the camera rotates with him.
I thought he was going to go through the mud.
Oh yeah. I was like, why is the camera turning? Like, oh no, he's upside down now. It was really, I mean, some amazing cinematography, some amazing camera work. Fun fact about this movie.
Yes.
In the Philippines, they actually didn't have the technology to develop the film. So they shot this movie blind.
Ooh.
Francis Ford Coppola had no idea what the dailies looked like.
Ooh.
So not only did they go from a 6-week shoot to a 15-month shoot, they also weren't even sure like how it looked.
Could you imagine his fear of having to go back? Because I assume it sounds like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and him, but like George Lucas and Spielberg for the most part were probably like the guys that brought money to projects. Having to go back and be like, so George, here's the thing. Remember that movie? It's all unusable.
Yeah.
That would probably be the most terrifying, like, weight of your entire life, waiting for that to get developed so you can watch it and be like, well, let's see if we wasted a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
and I'm sure millions and millions of dollars.
Just crazy. Yeah, I mean, I heard they had somewhere like, I read it somewhere. It was somewhere between like, it can't have been 200 hours. That's too reasonable. was like 200 hours. Wait, was it? It couldn't have been 2,000. It couldn't have been 2,000 hours. But like they shot it for 50 months, so they had an insane amount of footage, which is probably why it took 3 years to edit together. But it surprised me that it took 3 years because it really seemed like a very cohesive film. You know, I mean, I guess if you spend that much time editing it,
200 hours footage.
It'd be like the Snyder cut if you never took a break, or you're just like, I've been editing this the whole time, just piecing it together. But
it was, so he did shoot nearly 200 hours of footage.
200 hours, which is, I mean, it's a lot. That's a lot to go through.
Took 16 months.
200 hours of footage is like, how many work weeks is that?
I mean, 40. So yeah, 8 weeks.
8 weeks of your office job, but it's just footage you have to go through and make a 2.5 hour movie out of.
Yeah. They're like, this is just 8 hours of Martin Sheen's penis. What is happening? You got to watch every second of it.
He and Francis Ford Coppola have been wrestling for 30 minutes now.
Like, I don't think they know the camera's on.
Is this a tickle fight? Okay, so also it's interesting when they get to the cult on some that's an incredible set itself. Or were those just real ruins? Like, what was that?
I would guess probably, yeah. They just found some. Well, I don't know if they're in the Philippines. I don't know if they have those kinds of ruins in the Philippines.
There's an amazing set, but they have written on the wall our motto, Apocalypse Now. I think that's where they got the title of the movie from. I think that was there, and they were like, you know what? Heart of Darkness? That sucks. Apocalypse Now, that's the name of the movie.
Oh, like they went to real ruins and that was already graffitied there?
That's what I think.
I believe you.
Because Apocalypse Now, what does that mean in terms of the movie?
Look, Cody, you either know what it means or you don't. And no one can tell you. You have to go on that journey yourself.
So that's what I think. Marlon Brando finally shows up for the last 20 minutes of the movie. I was ready for him the whole time. Marlon Brando, a legendary actor, Academy Award winner, Godfather. You know, we all know him. Here's what you may not know about Marlon Brando.
Tell me.
Very famously terrible to work with. Like one of the hardest actors to work with ever. For a couple reasons. He's a stubborn man. Sure, we all know this. Also, character actor. He's one of the early character actors. He's like, tell you what, I'm just gonna, this villain I'm playing, I'm gonna be him the whole time. When the camera's rolling, when I'm sleeping, when I'm getting a snack from craft services, I am the villain. That's his thing. Finally, he's an ad-libber, all right? He doesn't believe in the words you put on the page. He's got to feel it and just say whatever he wants. And so directors hate working with him, which I thought it was interesting because he didn't want to do the movie originally. And Francis Ford Coppola was like, oh no, you'd be great. We should do it. Just crazy to think like, you guys worked together like 6 years ago on The Godfather, which is proclaimed to be one of the greatest films of all time. Great performance by Marlon Brando. Don't you think Francis Ford Coppola knew what he was getting into?
Yeah.
Or was it just that the difficulty of Marlon Brando magnified by the jungle shoot in 15 months? Anyway, I heard somewhere that it was like he just had his assistant director shoot all his scenes. He's like, I can't even deal with this. You just shoot his scenes. I can't even. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you shot The Godfather with him, you'd be like, I know how to handle him. And then you throw all of that into the jungle after over a year of shooting, and you're like, I'm going to kill one of the most famous men in the world.
Well, that's interesting too. I wonder how, if you think about it, it's like he's in 20 minutes of the movie. So how long was he there shooting? I just wonder. There's so many big spectacle scenes. I wonder which ones were the hardest to do.
Yeah.
I take it probably the ones with the most people in it, right? So, I mean, I'm guessing those cult scenes were like really the hard part.
Yeah.
Among the hardest part.
Yeah.
But they also, I mean, they had big set pieces too. Like you're walking through a big set of people and there's a documentary filmmaker and there's a crazy general and there's villagers fleeing. Like that's all. I mean, that's a lot to handle. It's interesting. I don't know. Francis Ford Coppola, he did Godfather 1 and 2, like two of the most famous movies of all time, regarded as some of the greatest films of all time. So it's an interesting scenario. where like you get handed a project, and I mean the studio's gonna let you do a lot with it.
Yeah.
At that point, you've earned a lot of goodwill. I mean, The Godfather was shot on like a tiny budget, and they were like, "Oh, a dumb mobster movie. This is gonna be stupid. Whatever. You can have some money to make this." And then it was, as successful as it was. But here's what I'm saying.
Tell me what you're saying.
Marlon Brando. I thought it was interesting because it's all the U.S. soldiers have like all the technology and whatever, and they kind of are just abusing it. And you see the Viet Cong and the villagers are kind of, they don't have nearly the same resources, and they're just kind of at the mercy of the troops, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the technology thing. And you just see like a lot of wasteful people and a lot of destruction. You get to Marlon Brando, there's a lot of death and murder. Like there's all these like bodies everywhere. It's crazy. But at the same time, there's like not that same like technology. It seems like they're kind of just more one with nature. That's kind of like the vibe I got from Brando's character. He's in the ruins. He's there, splashing some water on his face, reading some poems. Like it's interesting just how different that. He's just sitting there, peaceful. I mean, he ordered all the murders, but it's kind of like the photographer said, like, oh yeah, I mean, he has hard times and whatever, but sometimes he's right and sometimes he's calm and
yeah.
Speaks truth.
I like how he's like, yeah, you're looking at the heads. It's just like the steps out to his like cave. It's just lined with severed heads.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sometimes he goes too far, but he's the first to admit that.
Yeah. It was fascinating. It was really interesting. And I thought the lighting on Brando's interesting because you take the whole movie trying to get to him. Yeah. And then he's like in shadow for the first like minute or two. And then you're only seeing parts of his face. He's in silhouette and super interesting. I thought that was just an amazing artistic choice. Here's what I learned. So this movie's based on the book Heart of Darkness. Francis Ford Coppola talks Marlon Brando into doing it. Brando had like $1 million, not a retainer, but like incentive or like bonus for signing. Brando was like, I didn't think I want to do it. So I'm just going to keep that money and not do it. Francis Ford Coppola was like, no, you have to do it, whatever. Finally, he gets him on set. He's like, great. You've seen the script. You've read the book. This is going to be great. Brando's like, here's the thing. I am very drunk. I am 80 pounds heavier than I'm supposed to be for the part. I have not read the book. I haven't read the script. So Francis Ford Coppola was like panicking. Like, this cannot be happening. He spent several days like reading out loud the book to him. They got in a huge fight over like all the lines he had written. He's like, I don't want to say these lines. These are dumb. I think he should have a different name. And he's like just going. And they settle. Like the character's supposed to be like tall, super lanky. He's been in the jungle forever. He shows up. He's this like portly Hollywood guy, 5'7", super portly. He's like, I can't even deal. Here's what we're going to do. I will compromise. We will ad-lib a lot of your lines. That's fine. Assistant director, you shoot the scenes. Put him in shadow. Shoot him from below so it looks like he's tall and a commanding presence, and we can't show his belly. So that's what happened.
Okay, that makes me feel bad. Because when he set up, I was like, this guy's fat.
I mean, he's thick. He's got the thick face and the thick neck. And
this is supposed to be like a Delta Force commando that has taken over rogue. Like an army. And then he's like, he's sitting up and I'm like, it would make sense if they're like, hey, like he looks like when they're like, hey, this general or colonel, which I guess he is a colonel, has gone rogue. But he's just, a guy that was in command and has taken his soldiers rogue. Not like this super special ops, super soldier has gone into the jungle and now has a cult. You have to stop
you're
him.
waiting for like Rambo to come out, right? And he looks like Jabba the Hutt, like slim, fast Jabba the Hutt. That's what like, you look good for Jabba the Hutt. You look terrible for someone who's supposed to be like in the bush, like in the jungle, surviving off of who knows what.
Like I've known people who were the version of that guy. There are two types of guys. There's the guys that you would never in a million years because they're like just normal or super lanky looking dudes.
Mm-hmm.
who are those hardcore Delta guys. Or there's the guys whose arms are as big around as your entire body, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, oh gosh.
Your Hemsworths.
Yeah. And that's how they describe him.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I mean, this guy who's like, oh, he could have been a general. And then he fought to go to jump school and then like wanted to take his command and threw a fit and blah, 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 and got his way. And anyway, now he has an army and he's doing whatever he wants and he's in Cambodia.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I wasn't it when I first saw him, I was like, you know, they talked about him doing poetry. I was like, I bet he does slam poetry. Like when I saw him, that just came to my mind. I was a little bummed he didn't do any, but that's the vibe I got. Where he's like, want to hear my really, really cool poem? And it's just like, oh no, the slam is coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. So they capture Martin Sheen. You know, he lets Martin Sheen approach him. They capture him. They're feeding him water. He's kind of like indoctrinating him almost. Like he's just sitting there listening to what he has to say. Marlon Brando rolls up, drops Chef's head on his lap.
Yeah.
He freaks out. That fake head I thought looked great.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they do the fake head and you're like, oh, it's very obviously a very fake head, but I get it. It's an extreme thing. I get the point. But that one, I was like, that looks like that dude's head.
I was like, did they kill this guy?
It really did. Really did. I mean, I was impressed.
Yeah.
With a lot of the effects. I mean, the wounds, the people on fire, the dirt, everyone being so sweaty, which I think was just what was going on based on what I've heard about the shoot. But I thought all of that added a lot of realism to the movie, even though it is this like crazy fantasy, right? Like, oh, there's a rogue person and has a cult army thing, you know. I thought it added, and I think that's what made it so unsettling and gripping by the end.
Yeah. It felt like an adventure, but like a very real, like this is what, not like a movie adventure, but like this is what a soldier in this scenario would have had to go through to get to this guy.
Yeah, there's a movie called The Lost City of Z.
Yeah,
with Charlie Hunnam.
I've seen that.
And when that movie started out, this is what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this descent into madness, and instead it's like we're in the Amazon for 20 minutes. Anyway, now I'm back home. We go back to, and it ends up being like a much longer thing, and it's like a, you know, an epic piece, and it tells all these pieces. But that's what I was ready for, because they're in the Amazon going on a boat, and that's very much what this movie was. You go down a boat, and it just keeps descending. You just keep going deeper and deeper into the heart of Brando.
Yeah. Here's my question, real quick.
Talk to me.
Did you like Lost City of Z?
No,
I liked that movie.
I didn't. Like I said, I think if it had just been the Amazon stuff, I would have really liked it. Yeah. But it didn't stay in the Amazon long enough, and then
But then you wouldn't have gotten the sweet boy.
It's Tom Holland.
Tom Holland plays Charlie Hunnam's son.
Tom Holland with a little mustache.
Yeah,
a little man mustache.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, yeah, that's what I wanted from it. Listen, there's a movie that is like that. This is like what I wanted.
Apocalypto? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, but that would probably do it as well. It's called something about the serpent.
Oh.
It's called, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Just sit.
Embrace of the Serpent.
Embrace of the Serpent.
And that's what I kind of wish Lost City of Z was like. That's a good movie.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you're interested in a madness adventure in the Amazon going down the river, that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah. Lost City of Z is much more like The Dig, because it's about archaeology and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But they pitch it like it's this crazy adventure.
I was like, it's gonna be so gritty. Oh, Robert Pattinson's in it. Okay, yeah, for sure. Amazon Studios is doing it. This is when Amazon Studios is a new thing. And the other Amazon Studios movie I saw was Manchester by the Sea. I was like, yes, I'm ready. I want some indie, gritty. You know, I want it. I want a dirty Robert Pattinson, and I want dirty Charlie Hunnam, and they're grubby, and they haven't taken a shower. So anyway, that's not quite what happens, or it does happen, but it's just kind of like, a few minutes of the movie, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Catching my drift?
Yeah. It's not like this movie.
Oh, so dirty. Oh, dirty boys and
Yeah.
girls. Oh, dirty everywhere. So,
Yeah.
but look, the dig is dry dirty. That's the problem with the dig.
That's why
This
you don't
movie
like the dig?
is moist dirty. People are sweaty, hot, and dirty. And that I can handle. The moisture comforts me. The dryness, the dry and dirty, because it gets crusty, it gets under your finger. But if I'm moist, then I can wipe the dirt off in theory because it's moist.
But Cody, what about Dune? There's no moisture. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll bring a Camelback, some chapstick, and I think I'll get some moisturizer.
I'll spritz you. I'll get one of those.
I just need one of those fans that squirt water, you know? I just need you to spritz me here and there. I grew up in such a dry desert.
Yeah.
That it gives me flashbacks.
You are Paul Atreides.
Exactly.
You rose from the desert.
That's me.
To watch this film with me.
Mm-hmm. So
does that mean I am fatter than Baron Harkonnen, so just throwing that out there.
I'm not going to understand any of these references until Denis Villeneuve releases his Dune. I refuse to know any of these references until Denis Villeneuve releases his Dune. Okay, so we're towards the end of the movie. And so kind of the question is, Martin Sheen, is he going to finish the mission and kill Marlon Brando? Is he going to do it? Is he not going to? Is he going to be able to do it? It's interesting because he's listening to him so much that I really thought, and they seem so like-minded in certain ways because they were both like, all these people that are abusing their power in their own way. Like, what's the difference? And they all are embraced by the jungle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you also? I totally forgot until just now, as we were talking about it, that his mission was to go find this group, infiltrate the group, like join the group.
Yeah.
And then kill him.
I forgot they talked about infiltrating it. Yeah, you're right. They did.
Like he was supposed to join it.
Which is interesting because while he's on his mission, the dossier he gets is like, yeah, by the way, we sent someone else to do the same mission a few months ago. Just confirmed, yeah, he's part of that troop. We can only assume he's part of that troop now. He sent a letter back to his family saying, sell everything, doesn't matter, I'm here now. You know, that kind of thing. So like, yeah, so he's far gone. He joined the cult. So I was like, because even in the beginning, that was my thing. He's like, oh, he's just going to join the cult. When they first, because you see how crazy he is. Like, that's what's going to happen. But then halfway through, they're like, oh, someone else did. Anyways, it was interesting because that was kind of the question the whole time. Is he going to actually do the mission? Was
that the guy that he approached when he first showed up? Because he walked up to a guy and said a name.
Yeah, I think that's that guy. I think I recognize him from the photo because you see his photo. It's like military photo and it looks like the same guy.
Yeah. He's just 1,000-yard stare, doesn't even look at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, So what did you think was going to happen? Where were you at?
So this is what I thought. And I think in that 3 years of editing, they took what they got from that year and a half of shooting. And I think what he chose, in my mind, the whole thing is you could look at it as Martin Sheen's character never left the hotel room kind of thing. Like, this is him going to face, this is him and his sane self, because he never goes crazy, going to face his demons, the crazy side of him that wants to be in the jungle. So I was like, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
You know? Because that's why he's killing him, and then everybody bows to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did think for a minute he was just going to leave. He was going to turn around and go. Be like, all right, I'm just going to leave him be. That's what I thought might happen for a minute, but I don't know. I was kind of rooting for him to finish his mission.
Yeah.
And that is what happens, right? But they do it in such an interesting way because he emerges from the water. He's all camoed up.
I thought he was going to have a knife in his mouth. I was like,
Rambo
is that what this is from?
So he's going through the shadow. He kills the one guard who's in charge of Marlon Brando, goes in, and this is the part that I missed because it seemed like they were talking and Martin Sheen said like he wanted me to do it. Talking about like referring to Marlon Brando. Was there something before that? Did I miss a piece of Brando's speech?
Before?
It seemed like Brando and him were talking.
When he goes in to kill him?
He was monologuing.
Well, he's talking into like a speaker.
Yeah, but
To
then
everybody.
no, but there's a part before he emerges out of the water. He's in the boat, right?
Yeah.
And he's getting the call from the strike team, being like, "Hey, do you read? Do you read?" And he's like, you know, Colonel Kurtz wanted me to do it, but I didn't know if anything prompted that.
I don't know.
If that
I
was
think
just what he understood from their back
because
and forth.
I think it's just kind of the montage of him seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I started to be like, oh, where I got the vibe of. I think they edited in such a way where it is him going to kill a guy, but it's also him facing his demons of he wants him to end it. He wants this to be over, just like Charlie Sheen's character wants he doesn't want to go back to Vietnam. He wants to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and so he does. He strikes down Marlon Brando. At the same time, there's a water buffalo, and there's a ritual where the cult is killing a water buffalo. It was really interesting. They were cutting back and forth between the water buffalo being killed and him killing Marlon Brando.
Do you think they really killed a water buffalo?
I know for a fact they did.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. This is a real ritual that has happened with like whatever tribe it was.
Yeah.
And Francis Ford Coppola had witnessed it and he wanted to include it in the movie. Because it's an American production, it is under the jurisdiction of American Humane Society. They did not have anyone there to like enforce anything or observe it. And so they just had them kill it. And so Francis Ford Coppola is like, oh, well, it was a real ritual that happened and we just happened to film it. Like, that's not at all what happened. You staged the whole thing. You just made it look like a ritual because you're like, oh, do some chants, do some things, you know. And so very controversial, right? You watch a water buffalo get killed on screen.
Yeah.
And like several very brutal like chops. It looks so realistic. I was confused why the water buffalo wasn't more like, was so docile.
Yeah.
Do you think they drugged it or a water buffalo just that, that's what I didn't understand. But it's a little haunting just to see it happen because you're like, that's not real. That's a really good prosthetic. They had such realistic prosthetic heads. You're like, oh, is that a prosthetic too? But I mean, it cuts like it's being butchered and it is. It's being killed. So pretty crazy. The American Humane Society listed that, normally at the end of the movie, like, no animals were harmed. This movie, no such thing. The Humane Society rates this movie unacceptable as far as like its treatment of animals. So,
yeah, which I mean, I've always wondered how do you feel about that? If they're filming and it's like they're on location, so like say they were there and those people were like, well, we're gonna, this is something they do every 6 months, and he's like, well, we're still gonna be here in 6 months. Can we just film you guys doing it? So like if you knew for a fact they did just film, like they got permission from the people to just film them actually doing this. Because I know the Humane Society would still be like, that's unacceptable. But it's like they were going to kill this thing anyway. I just thought it was a cool visual for the movie.
I mean, it's no different. That's what's interesting about it, right? Because animals are slaughtered all the time and I eat meat, I benefit from animals being butchered all the time and slaughtered. So what's the difference of someone filming it? I guess it depends, right? Are you just killing an animal to kill it for the movie? Or are you going to use that animal? That's my thing too. It's like, I don't mind. I think some people really don't like hunting. I don't mind hunting if you're using the animal, like if you're going to use that meat and everything, I don't really have a problem with it. But it begs the question, does that make it okay to do for art? I mean, it's a haunting. I don't know. I mean, in the context of the movie, he's killing Marlon Brando at the same time. You've seen so much like abuse of power and like violence in the movie, and it really is the man-on-man violence any different than people killing an animal for a ritual? And I don't know. I mean, it brings up some interesting questions.
Yeah, because I think, and there's another thing, because I think, so the ritual for one, I think in this kind of movie, where it's meant to be a very realistic, like haunting view at the Vietnam War and this guy dealing with his traumas. But I also, if I remember right, the whole ritual they were doing in those tribes is it's like all the sins and wickedness and badness that the tribe has done are given to the animal, and then they sacrifice.
It's like an
it.
atonement sacrifice that like the children of Israel would do in the Old Testament.
Yeah. And
you
so
have a
like
day of
they're
atonement, you have a
it,
sacrifice, you burn offering, all that stuff.
Which is why I'm like, that's why I draw him killing Marlon Brando's character is him facing his own
interesting. I mean,
demons.
that is a great parallel to draw.
You know?
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. Putting all his stuff on him and killing him.
That's what's interesting, right? Because he kills him, and you would think maybe the cult would turn on him, right?
Yeah.
And instead, they all kneel down. Some of them lay their weapons down. They let him pass through. And this is what I thought was interesting, too. As he takes the boat away, that strike team is still calling in, right? Like, hey, do you copy? They're basically saying, like, hey, do you want us to strike the position? Marlon Brando, in his like little memoir that he had been typing up, had that red note where it was like exterminate them all or
drop the bomb, wipe, or kill them all. Or
yeah. Like and so it's like, oh, so Marlon Brando wanted just to end the whole thing. Like he was done with all of it. But it seemed like Martin Sheen did strike down Marlon Brando, completed his mission, but didn't call in the airstrike.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Does that mean he's siding with like that military complex thing? Is he just completing his mission, like you said, to face his demons? And he's saying, I'm not the same as you because I'm not going to wipe out those people.
Yeah. He's a tool. He's not a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's surgical.
He did it in his own way because he very easily could have ordered the strike.
Yeah.
And been like Colonel Surfboard. Yeah,
but I mean, his whole thing really is he only does anything when it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a guy like on YouTube that I like a lot that he talks about how great heroes in movies or great characters in general are reactive.
Mm-hmm.
They're not active, they're reactive. Like he always points to Die Hard, how John McClane does everything he can to avoid confronting the bad guys. And it's only like when that's the only option left to him that he actually starts shooting people and going all nuts on them.
Yeah.
But like he calls the police and he tries to signal to them and does all that, you know.
Right.
Same thing. Like he doesn't do, Charlie Sheen doesn't, or not Charlie, Martin Sheen doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, that's like, you know, same thing with like the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
They avenge the bad stuff that happens. But then that's a whole storyline there too, like in Civil War, where it's like, we need to be responsible. It's like, well, we shouldn't answer it anyway. We should be able to act as soon as possible and as we deem necessary and not when someone else deems necessary. And it's, no, that's a good point. And so how does that draw in with him killing that lady? Right? So they shot up the boat. The lady wasn't actually dead. They're like, oh, we got to take her to the hospital. He shoots her and says, nope, we have to go do my mission. I told you not to stop.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think, like, because he's like, we can't, this is a waste of time. She's going to die before we get there. You killed her.
Yeah.
You're just going to take her dead body to a village.
Oh, I did really like that quote because I think it's after that one, but he says, like, we shoot him with machine guns and then give him a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It's like complete hypocrisy. You know, it doesn't make any sense. And that's a big thing with the Vietnam War, right? A big criticism. It's like, well, look at all the destruction. And I think it's the same thing that happens today, right? If you spend enough time fighting in someone else's homeland, then eventually they're just going to be mad at you for fighting in their homeland and the destruction you caused there. And especially when we talk about Vietnam, you see, like in the movies, at least, you see all these troops kind of taking liberties and doing whatever they want. And just, I love having my helicopter and I'm going to shoot down, but just love having my destruction and becoming part of the madness. So did you ever see Good Morning Vietnam?
Yeah.
It's that exact same thing. Spoilers for Good Morning Vietnam. Fast forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. But there's that kid who he was friends with. And at the end, he's like, you're the ones who are destroying my home country. That's why he joins with the Viet Cong, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, you killed my family. You know, your troops killed my family. So now I'm here fighting against you. So I think it's the same thing that's happening in the Middle East, where it's just like, we can only be there for so long before it's just perpetuating itself, where it's like, okay, you strike me and I strike you, and people see that, they get mad at it, they join the resistance, and you're just gonna keep on going.
Yeah.
Anyway, Canada's an isolationist country, and they have delicious maple syrup and maple cookies, so maybe we have a lesson to learn. What kind of cookies do we have?
All the cookies.
Chocolate chip. I love chocolate chip cookies, but
Oreos.
It doesn't come from us, you know?
Oreos.
I guess corn
Chips
syrup
Ahoy.
does. So I guess anytime you use corn syrup in a cookie, you're being an American.
Cookies were invented in America, much like freedom
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and soap.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the movie. I really liked it. I mean, it's maddening, it's haunting, it's a long one. The first half is very different from the second half. But it's a gradual descent.
Yeah, it's
I really like
descending.
it.
I think it's one of those movies where it's like if you're trying to be a film person,
Yeah.
and see, like, I would put it in, like, if we were gonna make a list of top 100 films, I would put it on the list.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot to say for it. I think the camera work is great. The effects were great. There are strong performances. Some of the lighting choices are so cool. That night scene with the flares going by, lighting everything. Marlon Brando being lit in such a interesting way. The overlay, they do all the overlays too. Like even in the beginning, that's like a famous scene, right? There's the choppers, the ceiling fan, Martin Sheen's face, fire. You know, it goes back and forth. And then towards the end of the movie, you see the troops being overlaid over each other. You know,
Yep.
and the stone face being overlaid Martin Sheen's face. And I mean, it took 3 years to edit, but what a product, right?
He, Francis Ford Coppola, he loves his overlays, you know?
Gotta love him. This was nominated for 8 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
It won Best Cinematography and Best Sound. The sound is incredible in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing because they had to actually do a lot of dubbing in the movie, and including like VO and stuff. It lost Best Picture to Kramer v. Kramer, which, if you haven't seen, it's a Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep movie. Really good.
Wait, so it's not a Friends spin-off, or not Friends, Seinfeld spin-off movie?
No, Seinfeld is a spin-off of Kramer v. Kramer.
Oh, okay.
But really well-written movie. Really good one. Yeah, I like the movie. I think this might be a better movie, but Kramer v. Kramer, what a tight script. And I mean, Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman, what talents.
What if Dustin Hoffman was in this movie?
I think Dustin Hoffman's an amazing actor, so I like.
What if Meryl
watching him.
Streep was the Colonel?
Oh, okay. Hoffman v. Streep in Vietnam instead of in a divorce court. That's what I want.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Okay. Let me hit you with this right now. Let's recast this film. Let's remake it today. All right.
Mhm.
Who you put? I will cast the Colonel dude. Marlon Brando. Who are you putting? Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah. It's hard.
This is really hard.
It's hard.
I have some ideas. I don't know if any of them are right.
Just some ideas, though. Not all the ideas.
I don't know. I think Leo would be really good. He's a little older now.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not supposed. I think it seems pretty clear like he's not supposed to be the young soldier. He's supposed to contrast very heavily. He's supposed to be like the guy who's been on like 15 assassination missions. He's in his 30s. He's like at the end of his career as a Black Ops guy.
Christian Bale would be good too, but I think he's a little more intense. I think you need someone a little more, mild-mannered almost.
Yeah. Oh, I had somebody in my head and
I don't
it's
know.
gone. It's so perfect. Oh.
If it was a young guy, I think Timothée Chalamet would be really good.
Ooh.
But he's a little young.
He is young. Is he actually young or does he just look young?
No, he's very young.
He's smooth. He's a smooth boy.
I think, wasn't he like the youngest Best Actor nominee like 2 years ago? Or 2 or 3 years ago? I think so. I mean, he's in his early 20s.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know who. Who are you going to pick for Brando?
Billy Zane.
Stop.
You're going to look me in the eye and tell me they don't look exactly the same.
I mean, you're right about that.
Yeah.
You are right about that.
Here's the thing. Here's what Billy's bringing to the table. He looks the same. He's this crazy person. We know he can be fat and kind of jacked at the same time. And you know he can get bronzed.
You know who'd be good?
Who?
I'm doing your job now. Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
I think he'd be good at that. So here's the thing.
Too funny though.
Yeah.
Too funny. He could be the cavalry guy.
Oh, he'd be great.
So good.
Yeah, so I talked about the character's supposed to be like tall, lanky, skinny.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando's 5'7". And so they shot him at a ratio to try to make him seem 6'5". But yeah, Marlon Brando's 5'7". I had no clue. I had no idea.
He looks like a big boy. But you know what? Billy Zane, probably taller than that.
Yeah.
I can confirm.
Probably. Can confirm he probably is. So Coppola had a really hard time with this movie. Like just like everyone else, this was kind of a nightmare for him. He threatened to commit suicide, and during the filming lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy.
I have to watch this Heart of Darkness thing. Okay, Brando. We talked about him compromising with the ad-lib sort of thing. Most of his famous lines are ad-libbed, but his main speech, he improvised an 18-minute speech that they recorded, and then they just kind of chopped it up, condensed it down to about 2 minutes for like his main speech.
Well,
yeah.
Billy Zane's 6 feet tall, so he's perfect.
Here's my question. If anybody went on an 18-minute rant, could you make it into a 2-minute Academy Award worthy speech?
If I was given 3 years, probably. Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me your most intense broodiness. 18 minutes starts now. And just, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Only like 14% of it has to be good.
I can go on insane rants that you could definitely stitch together something coherent, but
okay. Coppola, this movie went over budget, not surprisingly. Did you see all of it and the amount of choppers and the amount of actors and the explosions and everything?
They blew up a helicopter.
The smoke alone, like the smoke bomb budget alone had to be insane. Yeah. Coppola spent $7 million of his own money and mortgaged his Napa Valley home to help fund the movie. So that's cool.
He's the hero we need.
Mm-hmm.
The real hero. Yeah.
I already said Martin Sheen had a heart attack, and I mentioned George Lucas was originally the director. I guess that really strained their relationship between George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola. George Lucas was real upset he didn't get to do this one.
Oh, it's a bummer.
But could you George Lucas today, it's one of those things you're like, 1980 George Lucas, you're like, oh, it would have been so cool. But like 2005 George Lucas, like fresh off Attack of the Clones, you're like, maybe it's better we went with Coppola.
Yeah. The thing is, like, what is George Lucas? Because with him, I always think of like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, which it would have been a much more of an adventure movie and less of a.
He doesn't really do like the gritty, dark kind of things. Coppola's much more that vibe. I mean, so his top 4 credits: Star Wars, THX 1138,
which is this like short film he made.
Well, he made a short film. He also made a feature length version of it.
Oh,
so that was his 1971. That was like his first like feature film.
Oh, okay.
Followed that up with American Graffiti, which is a classic movie. Once again, it's adventure. It's a teen movie. Indiana Jones. Those are his biggest titles. Let me see. As a director, I'm trying to think of like what else he did, because I know he did THX, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. So what else did he direct? I guess not else. I mean, this is telling me, okay, he directed what, 4 or 5 Star Wars movies in total? He only directed the first Star Wars movie and then 1, 2, and 3. That's it. I mean, that's his directing career. THX, American Graffiti, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Take a break, more Star Wars.
Yeah, because I think, you think about him doing 4, 5, and 6, but he was just like heavily involved in 5 and 6. But yeah, there was different actual directors.
Yeah, I mean, he was the writer for 5 and 6, and
he was there all the time, but
it's still his brainchild. I mean, I'm looking through his credits, and it's just all Star Wars stuff for writing credits, and it's all just Star Wars stuff. It's like, yeah, based on characters by, based on characters by, based on characters by.
yeah.
Yeah, it kind of stinks that. And Indiana Jones is an amazing one too, but I also suffered the same thing where it's like, oh yeah, they made a 4th one and it wasn't great.
Yeah.
That's really too bad. Okay, so here's my question before we wrap up. I did want to look up Coppola because I know he did Godfather. I know he did Apocalypse Now.
You know that he was a sibling of the person who created Nicolas Cage.
He sure was. He was right in that gene pool. He's done a lot of movies, even into the 2000s. I'm trying to see any that I super recognize.
I haven't watched this.
What? He directed the 1992 Dracula?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that the horny one?
The sexy one with
Gary
Oldman and Winona Ryder?
Give Gary Oldman play the Colonel.
Gosh, see?
No, J.K. Simmons with a mustache.
Oh, there you go. Just a hard reveal on it. So, he directed The Outsiders, Rumblefish, Cotton Club. Oh, Captain EO, the Michael Jackson short. So good. I had a Captain EO shirt. Okay.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, he's kind of the same thing. Well, no, he's got quite a few credits throughout the 60s that I don't know, but he's got like a dozen movies throughout the 60s. And then The Godfather was the big hit. 'Cause I know he wasn't a big director until The Godfather. The Conversation is one that I should probably see because that's really well reviewed. Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now. After that, he does a few things in the 80s, but really slows down. And then nothing like super noteworthy, it looks like, since then.
Yeah.
Nothing like over an 80 Metascore. So
they have one dose of fame between them, and he passed it to Nick Cage.
See, and same director from that era. If you look at Steven Spielberg, who is successful to this day directing movies, same with Martin Scorsese, same era, to this day has been churning out hits. It's interesting to see Coppola and Lucas had those like bright flashes, and then we're pretty quiet since then. Nothing super noteworthy. Whereas Scorsese and Spielberg have been like churning out hits.
Yeah.
Their whole like 30, 40 year careers.
Yeah. Of course, like the Star Wars shows kind of show that Lucas can still be good as long as someone else, like he writes it and someone else directs it.
Yeah.
He's just not great at directing.
I mean,
he's too much of a
built
nerd.
a great universe.
Yeah.
It's like the J.K. Rowling thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've got to say.
Except he's
haunting film. Yeah. I would highly recommend it. Like kind of like you said, I mean, a film person, if you're really interested in like classic movies or something like it's dark, it's a little haunting. I mean, it's pretty haunting. Yeah. I think it's famously like kind of stays with you because you watch a water buffalo get killed on screen and it just kind of gets crazier and crazier. But it was great. I thought it was really, really good.
It's one of those movies. Here's what I would recommend to anybody. All you people out there, all of our fan. You know, your local, everybody, we're all getting vaccinated now for the stuff. You know, I guarantee you, whatever local hipster theater every 8 months has an Apocalypse Now showing.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I've heard this is one of those movies that has 3 cuts. Yeah. We watched the theatrical, which reading online, it seemed like most people like theatrical will do. It's actually probably the best cut. Some people like there's a final cut, just 3 hours, and there's Apocalypse Now Redux, which is 3 hours and 15 minutes.
It's
I know the other cuts, they have some more like sex stuff in it, and I think it's just like a longer descent into the madness. So I didn't see more than like 1 or 2 people online that were like, oh, actually, I thought the Redux was really great. So I think I would just stick with considering how long it felt, I would stick with the theatrical cut and call it good.
I just want the Redux to be just all more ducks. Like every time there's a duck on screen, it's full 2 minutes
just like
longer.
3 more scenes with banana boats filled with ducks. Like they roll up to the boat and it's just like a duck with like the like the little like rice patty sun hat thing.
Yeah.
And he's just like, meh. And he like hands him the papers. They like rifle through the boat. All ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm about. I would even go with a duck cut.
Yeah.
So you just kind of Photoshop in a duck wherever Martin Sheen is.
Oh yeah.
It's just like a duck's doing the mission.
Yeah, that would be funny.
That's what I've got to say. It's an intense one, but it's a good one.
An intensey but a goodie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is my brand.
Yeah.
That's why this is a Cody Corner film. Thank you so much for listening. You can review us or share us wherever you can find a podcast. You can yell at me for racial slurs I may have accidentally said at Opinion Havers on Twitter or on Facebook.
Or on Bumble. What? Is that still a thing?
Bumble is still a thing. I don't know if it's what you think it is.
Are you thinking of the gay one?
No, I'm thinking of the dating app.
Okay.
Are you suggesting our podcast has a profile on a dating app where women have to initiate the conversation?
I'm saying, why don't we?
I mean, it's been done. I knew someone who did it. We had a church event, and they made a profile for the church event on like a church dating app.
Nice.
So that people could just swipe up and it would just send a message to be like, here's the info for the thing. Wouldn't you love to come? So nice. I guess we could do a rogue marketing campaign on Bumble. I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah.
If that's
and
what you're asking.
Grindr, which is the gay one.
Oh my goodness.
Because we're inclusive, Cody.
We are inclusive, even though we say slurs we don't mean to. Thanks for listening, and until next time, watch movies.
And have opinions.
It's like a light slur, you know?
Yeah.
Diet slur.
That's what we're all about here.